Hello. I can see Hadiza joined. Please, can you just send a request so I could add you to? Hello there. All right, Africa Lipso podcast is joined. Poets Niger joined. And we also have one of our hosts from Africa Lipso podcast. And I think I'll just be.
Hi.
Hi, Hadiza.
So this is Matilda.
Oh, this is
Hi.
Matilda.
Yeah. So
Hi.
Hadiza is gonna be joining shortly. She should be on already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So should we wait for her or we should just start? I think we should wait for her.
I think she's here already. I think Hadiza, you just have to request to join, I guess. And then we
Yeah, I
can move
started
forward.
already. You look so good though. The
Oh,
earrings are
thank
nice.
you. I've been
And you
wanting
have
to
the
wear these
slippers.
earrings for the longest time. It says Black Queen,
Are you serious?
but it's super extra. Hi, Hadiza.
Hi, Hadiza.
Sorry, I mean, I'm on break, but I'm in the office though, so
Sorry about that.
no, it's okay.
All right, so thank you for agreeing to be interviewed on the APVA. Sorry. So as I was saying, thank you for agreeing. And I'm Rosaline Yusuf. I'm the host for APVA. Actually, I'm starting, and then I had a test run, but I hope this goes out well. So everything about APVA, it's an association of African podcasters and voice actors. So the Podbreaks is a platform where we get to have interviews with podcasters around Africa. And we also want to know much about how they started off with their podcast and how it's going, and also get to know more about our podcasters personally. So some kind of questions will be coming in, and then hope you will be free to let us know personal things. Actually, would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine to have us now.
All right. So can we know you personally, Hadiza and Matilda?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So let's start with Hadiza.
Okay, so just a bit about me. Of course, my name is Hadiza from Nigeria, of course. I'm co-host of the Africa Live Show podcast, and I'm currently at work, actually. I work I live in Ottawa, studied engineering, and the reason why I'm a part of the podcast is to help actualize our Oga's dream, Matilda Bakari. So
Not you saying, oh God, don't even kill me.
That's nice. So Hadiza, where are you from? From Nigeria. What state?
Kogi State.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay, next we'll have Matilda.
Okay, hi everyone. Matilda, as you said, a host and producer on the podcast. I have a background in mechanical engineering, but currently work in IT. I produce the podcast and work with these two beautiful ladies, Hadiza, who looks so busy, by the way. But yeah, but yeah.
All right, that's amazing. Thank you so much. So, can we know an origin about Africa Lives Up podcast? What came about it? How did we get the host? What were the challenges and stuffs about it?
Okay. I would say the podcast actually started with Hadiza because thought back to like 2016 or 2015 or
Oh,
something,
okay.
and you started listening to podcasts. Can you tell us how
Mm-hmm.
did you find out about podcasts?
Oh, okay. I guess, I was looking for something like noise in my ear, and I was like, okay, I guess there's a thing called podcasts. And my first podcast was something called Campus. So it was just talking about different students' stories in the University of Toronto, like kind of stories are not the norm. Like for example, someone like kind of like people doing weird things like in university essentially. I just found it interesting, so I started listening to Nigerian podcasts, and I was telling Matilda about it. I was like, oh, do you know you could kind of listen to other people talk about random stuff, and then she's like, oh, interesting. And I guess like go on to you, Matilda. What
Yeah,
happened
it
after
took
that?
off from there. So we were roommates back then, actually. We were in university back
Wow.
in 2015, 2016. And yeah, Hadiza started listening to podcasts, so she told me about it. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, actually. So I started listening to, if anyone is Nigerian and knows Loose Talk, that's the
Let's
one.
talk.
So I started
Okay.
listening to Loose Talk, started listening to the rants, and things like Not Your African Cliche. And like, I really fell in love with podcasts then because I already watched YouTube, but then YouTube, every time like you're doing something on your phone or doing something that doesn't require you, like, like you can't look at your phone, for example, it didn't really make sense. So that was kind of like a community. So then I moved to Toronto for a year for an internship, and I was alone again. So I started listening to them even more and started rediscovering like what it means in quotes to be like Nigerian and African, and started reading a lot of books. And I was like, I feel like this was missing in our childhood. Like I read Half of a Yellow Sun, and although it was fiction, yeah, although it was fiction, it's mixed with a little bit of actual history. And yeah, I started actually thinking of this podcast, and I moved back to Ottawa. We're in Canada, Ontario to be specific. So I moved back to Ottawa, and I was like, Hadiza, let's do this. We were still roommates at that point. So yeah, so we started it together.
Yeah, I remember when she asked me to do it, and I was like, I don't really want to be like, are people are going to hear, what if we blow and like people are hearing my opinions? Like, I don't really want people to hear my opinions. That was the original thought, right? But then I guess honestly, at that point in time, too, I was interested in like kind of learning about African history and Nigerian history specifically. And I thought it would be nice to kind of share with people kind of what I've learned. So I was like, oh, this is a good avenue to kind of do that. So that kind of sold me into speaking in the podcast and also supporting Matilda's dream. You know, she's our guest, so
No, say
yeah.
one more time. But yeah,
And thank you so much, Hadiza and Matilda. So how was it like for you creating content actually, knowing well that you were in Nigeria, right? When you
yeah.
started the podcast. So how was it like creating content and keeping up with being consistent, releasing episodes on the podcast?
Um, well, at the beginning, and I said this on one of my other friends' podcast. At the beginning, I felt so Nigerian, like you couldn't tell me that I wasn't like having the full Nigerian experience. But then I quickly began to understand that like we're pretty much there's a space for like Africans in the diaspora. Like we grew up in Nigeria. The fact that we're not
Yeah,
there right now doesn't really make us
doesn't
any less Nigerian in
yeah,
quotes. So, and especially because it's the digital age, so like we can still reach out to people in Nigeria. Sometimes we collaborate with like people that are actually on the continent and stuff like that. And our parents still live there, so we still have a very close connection with Nigeria. So that was never really a problem. Like when Buhari or his counterparts pass a law, it still affects us here. So
yeah.
yeah, and with consistency, it's just it's loving what you do, I guess, and having a
The
dream.
passion, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a dream for what you're doing and you enjoy what you're doing, I think it just happens. Yeah.
That's great. Hadiza, any highlights or something?
Pardon? Sorry.
The content creation. How is it
Oh,
like?
I would say at first it was like, because I at first I started off with research, like a history. So it, like for me, it was time consuming at first because I would read books and like do so much. But then content creation kind of honestly kind of fell on Matilda's hands for quite a while. And then we would contribute, like we would say Matilda will kind of create the outline, and then we'd say, oh, add this, remove this, and so on. And it was only until recently that it's kind of been redivided into, okay, you handle this topics because this is your affinity. Like, for example, yeah, maybe someone has an affinity for something, they would handle certain topics. Imama is our other host as well. She would have an affinity for certain things, and then she handled those topics, and Matilda as well. So yeah, like I would say it's good. It's actually fun. It's fun when you're able to get the host that you want. I think that's the best feeling. But if not, like it's interesting trying to kind of hustle and find an episode to do when you don't find a host that kind of matches the episode plan you have and the schedule you have planned as well.
All
Yeah.
right, that's amazing. Thank you so much for giving me heads up about how the whole thing started. So, how about the creative process behind the scenes? What happens? Do we have little disagreements trying to come up with the content, or we have one person being quite lazy that day to do something, or what exactly goes behind the scene? We would love to know.
Hmm. I don't think we've had a major disagreement, right? Yeah,
Oh,
we
that means
really
you guys
don't.
perfect then.
No, it is. Like, the thing is, before the podcast, we've all been friends. We pretty much are similar in like interests and like what we want to talk about on the podcast. We generally have an idea of like what the podcast surrounds. So once in a while, someone will come up with a topic and someone else would be like, I don't see how that like fits in line with
Yeah,
like what we're trying to do here. But the beauty of it is that we're three, right? So if I
yeah,
feel like we would have disagreements if we were just two, but because there's three, if like two people disagree on one thing, there's always a third person to be the tiebreaker. So I
yeah.
think that's what's worked for us so far. We really haven't had any quarrels or anything. Yeah.
That's really amazing. Thank you so much. So, the reactions to ratings and reviews about the podcast when you started, like, would I say how many plays did you get on the first episode and the listenership growth and a lot of things? How has the podcast been with reviews about people commenting and their interest in the content you provide for them on the podcast?
Hadiza, do you want to go?
Yeah, for sure. I can say, I mean, of course, it started off, I don't have the exact numbers. I feel like, Matilda, you'd be better for this because there's a period of time where you were religiously watching the
Oh my God.
numbers. But I'd
I
say,
still do.
oh, you still do? Okay. So it's like, I can say generally, we started off low and then like we have more numbers now. It's just not as high as, okay, Matilda can go into the details and because Matilda is invested.
I think it's not as high as obviously would want, because when you start a podcast, at least when we started back in 2018, we I thought anyways, like, oh, we have something to say, and obviously this is pretty cool. Like, there's a lot of banter stuff, but there isn't a lot of like, and we do a lot of banter because I think because we're Nigerian, we enjoy the, back and forth and lighter things, but we mix it with a little bit of knowledge, and not a little bit, a lot, I hope. But we thought that by having that, that was good enough. So usually when you start a podcast, you imagine you blow immediately. And blow, I use that like just cause. But you think the reach is gonna be a lot at the beginning,
Yeah.
but you start and like I feel like for like over a year or something, we were getting like 28 listens like max on the episodes and stuff like that. So it was really weird, like sometimes producing content and having just that like 28 people or 30 people listen to it. And but like we still had friends within our circle that would listen and then interact with us. So I feel like at that point in time, it still felt like we were talking to people. So as the numbers have grown, I feel like we've had less understanding of who is listening, but then we know that there are people listening, and it brings satisfaction. So yeah, we have definitely grown in numbers. But yeah, we started from 12 listens.
That's pretty cool because you hardly get a number of people listen to the podcast these
Yeah.
days because let's say if your target audience is the youth, they're very lazy to listen to content except it's something they're really interested in, probably entertainment or something. But in as
Mm.
much as you had more than 10, that means it really got some people's attention, and then you must have educated some people about certain things. And that's really cool though. And then all right, so can you share milestones if there are any at certain points of
Hmm.
the podcast?
Fuad.
Milestones.
Fuad was a
Oh
milestone.
yeah. So we had I don't know if you know him, Fuad Lawal.
For
Um
what? I don't think I know him. I
Hadiza,
don't
could you
think.
talk about why it's like what he did, like what he does and stuff?
So Fuad is I forgot the name of the, oh my god, I have it called
Zikoko.
Z.
So
Yeah.
he was
The
previously the editor in chief or editor at Zikoko. I think he doesn't work there anymore, but he had done this thing when he worked with Pulse, where he went to all the states in Nigeria, and then a year after or two, he now did like all the countries in West Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time reaching out to him, we it was just like a shot, like we just threw all the shots out and like we're trying to get him because this is someone that's like pretty important in Nigeria, I guess. Um,
yeah.
so and we had no connections whatsoever. So that was definitely a milestone. And he came back and he talked about his second trip as well. So it was Jollof Road. I don't know if you
Jollof food. He,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so that was it. Oh, when we got Shegun Arinze, that
Mm.
was pretty huge as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people know him, so like it was definitely a big deal. We hit 3 years this year. So we're still podcasting. And this year as well, we hit over 100 episodes. So it might not look like we have that, but then we have the Amiibo interludes in between the major episodes. So 100 episodes total. We reached that this year. So yeah.
Wow, that's really amazing. 100
Thank you.
episodes this year.
Yeah.
The consistency is really tight, I must say. I
Thank
love the
you.
energy and everything. All right, so what led to the name Africalypso?
I don't know if
I
you
think you
did
need
you
to
grow
know.
up listening to Lagbaja?
Yeah, not really. I did,
No?
but I just know him as the masked artist and
Yeah. So he has a song called Africalypso, right? And in that
oh,
song, he talked about how you know, the music, like before our forefathers left, sorry, when our forefathers left the shores of Africa, like, you know, they took the music with them and it became like calypso, it became jazz, it became soul. But in anywhere there's soul, pretty much there's an African and stuff. So I know it doesn't really relate to like podcasting, but it's just like, yeah, we're not in Africa, but the soul of it still is in us and stuff like that. And just rediscovering like our roots and stuff like that. And our identities as Nigerians in the diaspora.
that's
So
really creative though.
yeah. We also toyed with a lot of different names, but that one was like we still
We would
get
like to
Afro
know
Calypso
the
though.
actual names though.
Yeah. Huh?
The names you guys started with.
No, we started with Africalypso, but we had like a Google Doc and we just like threw ideas around and like that one doesn't bag too much and like you know I don't even remember. I think I'm
I
going
don't
to go
remember
look
names.
for that document. But
I think I'll wait for that though.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, so I just want to stop by and thank the rest of our listeners and the viewers. We're really, really glad you joined the IG Live. And thank you, Matilda. But before then, we'll soon be rounding up the journey so far. How has it been? The successes, some throwbacks, or something you'd like to share about Africalypso so we'll know more about our podcasters and how they handle the podcast.
Hadiza?
I'm so sorry. Maybe you should go first and I'll go after you, Matilda.
Okay. I
Mhm.
guess the journey, if you're talking about the journey, remember like when we first started we started podcasting and we had one mic at the beginning, literally. And it's this round, I forget something ice, like the speaker, the mic, sorry. And we just put it in the center of the room. It will invite like 5 people. And we're all just shouting and like speaking into that one mic. I feel like if you go back to the old episodes, you're gonna hear the
Understand with the
audio
audio production.
in the first season, because we break it up into season, and that, I guess, that speaks to consistency in code, because we take breaks in between every season, so every 12 episodes, because we work full time and sometimes it can get a lot, but over time we got a mixer and stuff like that, and now we're in separate places because of the pandemic, but we're able to record remotely, and like it's been really good. It's been fun, like especially in the pandemic, to be honest. Like
Mhm.
sometimes you go a long time without speaking to people, and then every week we're gonna have to come and record an episode. So, and it's with friends, so it's always gonna be fun. So
Yeah.
honestly, yeah, the process of doing it has been editing, not so much, but
Mhm.
the actual process of recording is fun.
Yeah, I was going to say editing was the struggle, I guess, and stuff. I mean, you handled it because you seem to enjoy it, but
I
yeah,
enjoy it, but that weekly editing thing honestly is
yeah,
a lot. But I enjoy, like, sometimes I think some other podcasters outsource their editing, but to an extent I feel like the way you edit an episode really, like, defines what is being put out, because there's some things that you listen to and you're like, it doesn't really need to be here. And like personal information, for example, like if someone was editing it, they might leave it in, and just stuff like that. I feel like the way it's edited really defines the episode and what you put out there. So I think I enjoy because of that.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you so much. It's been amazing talking to both of you. I wish we had Imama here,
I
Tiffany.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then thank you once again. I'm Roslyn, and this is APVA. It's African Podcasters and Voice Actors. It's an association, actually. And we will also love if you guys are also on the platform. So probably you could mentor some of us.
Ooh, yeah. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
we are
Thank
part of
you.
this platform, actually. Are you a podcaster
Yeah.
yourself?
Yes, I am. I host
Oh,
Pillow Talk podcast.
oh no, I know that, actually. Like, I've
Right.
seen it on our
Good.
Instagram, but I'm going to make a point to go listen to it now.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
All right. So a big shout out to Miss Abidemi and a lot of the people who pulled up for this interview. Thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing. We'll probably come back and ask more questions. Are you married, Matilda?
crying? No.
Are you married?
Who, me?
Yes.
No. Oh wait, is that one of the questions? No, none of us are actually married.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll be awaiting then. Okay, there's a question in the comment section. It says, "What inspires the topic you create for each episode?"
So, can I go, Hadiza?
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So, when we actually started the podcast, we at the beginning we have a topic bank. So all the things that like made us passionate about even starting the podcast, we put them down. We just threw in topics and stuff. So sometimes we still refer back to that, but sometimes it's like we watch a video, a YouTube video, or something is trending and we think it needs to be talked about. Like when we talked about medical racism, for example, that was from watching everybody talking about this doctor that had died from COVID. She was black and stuff. So, like, topics that are happening. But I really did want to mention this. This year we joined a fellowship at TRAD. It's an organization that creates African centered content, pretty much. So we kind of work with them. So their CEO Chuki, he really helps us with sourcing guests and everything. And a lot of times we also make the episodes around a guest. So because it's a topical podcast, we don't want to just interview you. We kind of want to have a topic. So, but the guest can inspire the topic as well. So, yeah.
Hadiza, do you have anything to say?
I'm so sorry. Let me see. 1 second. No, I think Matilda has covered. Yeah, I think Matilda covered it, so it's good.
All right. So, lastly, I think, what are your views on African podcasting, the potentials, and then the challenges? More like finding solutions to better ways of podcasting, basically for the African podcasters. Who's going first?
I'll go. I think it's nice to see the evolution. As a listener of African podcasts as well, it's nice to see a lot more people kind of putting out podcasts, and that means like we get to see we have a lot more of African culture in the airspace generally, and not from just performers or people in that kind of entertainment industry, but just like regular everyday people. It's nice to see, and I hope like we get a wider audience listening to our podcast as Africans.
I don't know if you know, I said what I said. I feel like
Yeah.
every podcaster in Nigeria probably knows them, but I feel like they're setting a good blueprint for what it can be. Because like they have live events and stuff like that, and they have, I think, Acorn, the people that manage them and stuff like that, just the partnerships that they do and stuff like that. So I feel like it might not look like a big deal, but I feel like if the people that they work with and like the sponsors and stuff like that, just working with a podcast, they know what podcasts can do for them and stuff like that. So I believe it's creating a market for that. I think the challenge is though, like a lot of the actual audience that you're talking to, like Nigerians, don't even have access to internet and stuff like that. Internet is really expensive in Nigeria, so I feel like that's an issue. But I hope at some point that like we're able to move forward with that and all. But I think it's growing, the podcast listenership generally.
Thank you very much. Hadiza said she'll have to leave soon, and I guess likewise Matilda. But thank you so much for being here. We're really grateful from APVA. We love you all so much, and we pray that the whole podcast environment and everything gets to be bigger, and we get to reach out to the assigned audience that we would love to reach out to. So thank you so much. We'll be ending the interview right now. So enjoy your day, and I love you all. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.